name, please?
My name's Jo Staples.
And what's your role here?
I have multiple roles, but I am one of the West Bulldogs first aid mental health first aiders. They call us mental health first aiders. We've been provided with tools to be aware, to recognise when somebody may be having problems around mental health. Our role is to be like a first aider with medical care, to be first contact for somebody, not to provide them with counselling or care that's specific, but to help them to know where to get help if they need it.
So what training have you had to be a first aider?
So West's worked with White Ribbon, I believe 2019, so prior to COVID, there had been a new awareness around the impact of mental health within sport. So often we speak about the positive benefits of sport to athletes, but there are some downsides also that come with disappointment in selection, injury that especially that takes them out of the game for long periods of time. So the Queensland Rugby Union and the Premier Clubs decided to bring their staff in, bring their volunteers in, and do workshops with us to understand how to recognise the signs, how to support somebody, to be aware of how hard it is for people to disclose. There's still so much stigma attached to mental health, and to just be a conduit to professional care if that's what the person wants. Sometimes they just want to speak with somebody, but as a first aider, it's not your responsibility to stop there. You really have to recognise that you are a conduit to better care for somebody.
Was this under the QRU's In Touch program?
Yes, I believe it was part of that, because at that time they were working with the same organisation who were visiting the Premier Rugby clubs and delivering workshops. And West were very proactive, but prior to that, here at West, we already had an awareness. It's been part of the pre-season schedule for our club to bring whole club teams into the clubhouse at the beginning of the season, both for domestic violence education and mental health education. So we've been really proactive here, and those workshops that we did really just put some structure around what was already being done.
So if someone comes to see, what's the first step that they...
I have not had somebody approach me directly.
Okay.
And I think that's associated with the stigma. And I think as team managers and team coaches and other volunteers, we actually become what my workplace call as accidental counsellors. And it's something that as a manager or a coach, you can recognise changes in your player. And sometimes they might just give you a few cues in the way they speak to you. They might say, I'm not doing okay, or I'm not feeling okay, or they disappear from training, or they're late to games, or just little cues like that. And I think what the training has done is help me to understand that often is a cue that I need to then try and have a conversation with somebody. And I think it happens more that way than a direct approach.
What brought up to you what was your role created for? Was there any turning point, or was it just that mental health has become more aware?
I think it's a combination of those two things. I think there is growing awareness. I know that in some sport codes there were some some young athletes who chose to take their lives, who were having mental health issues, and I think the growing awareness around mental health just across all of society. I think with Black Dog and other Beyond Blue, other organisations who are more public, the introduction of a mental health week and the mental health rounds within sport, I just think it's a growing awareness that part of player welfare is their mental well-being as well as their physical well-being.
Does the club do anything special or have any special functions around mental health, mental awareness or anything like that?
Our Ladies' Day each year, we raise funds for specific charities, and mental health has been one of those in the past. We also support the domestic violence charities, and I think perhaps there is some link around those issues. It's an overarching player welfare and a consciousness that player welfare is not restricted to just the player. So we have a really family focused club here. There's our family days, our junior days. We embrace our players bringing their children, both our men's and women's teams. So there's a really holistic approach to it that externally you might not look in and say that's around mental health, but it's around player welfare at our club.
How many mental health first aiders are there at West?
So the specific number I couldn't tell you off the top of my head because COVID has changed the focus for people. There's been such an incredible focus on on medical health, but we had I think we had 8 people volunteered to attend the workshops, and at the end of that workshop you identified as a first aider.